I'm glad to see you, dear friends. In this video you will find out why in Russia you should not enter into agreements with unscrupulous counterparties. For example, let's say your company decides to purchase some goods for your business. Before buying goods, of course, you search the market, you find out where and from whom to buy the goods at appropriate price and appropriate conditions. Finally, when you purchase the goods, you have the right to make VAT deductions and also decrease your revenue by expenses. And this revenue minus your justifiable expenses will be your profit, out of which your company is obliged to pay a profit tax. But if your company, before establishing a business relationship with a counterparty, has not done a proper due diligence, in this case your company has a risk that tax authorities will charge taxes to your company. So what additional taxes may be charged if proper due diligence hasn't been performed? And there are two kinds of taxes. First, it is input value added tax, which was reimbursed from the budget, and the second tax is income tax. Since the documents received from your suppliers allowed your company to reduce the profit tax and to pay less value added tax, and if the tax authority has doubts in these documents, then the expenses accepted by your company to reduce your profit tax may be put in doubts. The position of Russian tax authorities, if your company establishes business relationship with bad counterparties and uses those documents to reduce payment of taxes, in this case, so it is very important in Russia, before concluding contract with your counterparty, to do a proper due diligence and to make sure that your counterparty is a good partner. And in order to understand who is a good partner and who is a bad counterparty, let's consider the signs of unscrupulous counterparties, of bad counterparties. So the first sign is if your counterparty is an active company or inactive company. If, according to the state register of legal entities of Russian Federation, your counterparty is inactive company, then there can be no transactions with such company and no documents can be taken into account when lowering your tax base. The second sign of a bad counterparty is if your counterparty fails to pay taxes to state funds. So if your prospective partner doesn't pay taxes, in this case you should assess your risks, ask why your partner doesn't pay taxes, what is the reason for this, and think carefully before establishing a relationship with such counterparty, because of the risks that your transactions and your documents received may be in doubts on the part of tax authorities. The third sign of a bad counterparty is a transit way of activity. For example, if the bank account of your counterparty doesn't have any balance, the funds that come in immediately go out and no balance remains. This in Russia is considered as suspicious activity, and assess your risk carefully before establishing relationship with such counterparty. The third sign of a bad counterparty is the transit way of activity. What it means? It means that the bank account of your partner has always the minimum or zero balance. If the money going in and after that immediately going out and no balance remains, in Russia such activity is considered as suspicious. And before establishing a relationship with such company, think carefully. At least the company must have a balance to pay taxes, to pay salaries, to pay to state funds, and it is logical that the company must have on balance some profit from its activity. So if the transactions have zero balance, this is a very firm sign of a bad counterparty. The fourth sign of a bad counterparty is that there is no information on internet about this company. The tax authorities may inquire how you found this partner if there is no information in the internet about such company. And if you don't have clear answer to this question, it is better to avoid concluding in a contract with such company. And if you have the answer, for example, it is your friend and so on, and all other signs of suspicious counterparty are fine, in this case, of course, you can conclude the contract, but you must have a proper due diligence about this company. The fifth sign is to analyze the court history. If the counterparty, if your prospective partner has many court cases against him, then you should think very carefully, because certainly you have risks, as on the part of tax authorities and also on the part that your partner has weak strengths to execute obligations. And the last sign of bad counterparty is the lack of necessary resources to perform the required activities. For example, you are going to conclude a construction contract, but you find out that your counterparty doesn't have enough staff, or maybe doesn't have at all any staff, doesn't have any machinery or other equipment to perform the works. In this case, you should also think carefully and to weigh your risks before concluding the contract. So, in order to minimize the tax risks of your company doing business in Russia, you must establish a proper and sound procedure of due diligence before concluding any contract. This system, this procedure may consist of 5 general steps. The first step is you develop the regulation on contractual work. The second step is to develop a due diligence policy. How you conduct due diligence, when you conduct it, what kind of documents you require from your counterparties, what kind of information and you check and where you check it, how this dossier is formed and where it is kept. So this is a due diligence policy which is absolute must for every company in Russia. The fourth step is to appoint the authorized employees who will be responsible for providing due diligence before entering into relationship with each counterparty. or it may be also a law firm who will be helping to a company to do it on proper level. The first step, of course, is to request the documents, information. No, actually, the first step is executing all what is written in the policy, collecting documentation, collecting information, checking information, and forming a file of your counterparty, making sure that your partner is a reliable partner, a real, active company with sufficient resources and who has a good reputation on the market. And the last step is that adding to the dossier of each counterparty, you draw up a tax sheet where you write the tax risks with working with this counterparty.